The Better Utah broadcast. My name is Katie Matheson. I am the communications director here at Alliance for a Better Utah. With me today, I have Quang Deng, who is the Salt Lake County Democratic Party chair, and we are waiting on the acting chair for the Salt Lake County GOP. So in the meantime, let's get started. Welcome, by the way.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So I wanted to have you guys on because April is an important month. Right? What do we have going on in April that's so important?
Well, our convention is on the 14th. That's the county convention, and the state convention for the Democratic Party is on the 28th.
Perfect. And I think that's the same day as the GOP as well, the state GOP, or it's the 21st.
Right. I think the state GOP convention is a week earlier because I only know that because signatures were due for them a week earlier.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right, so let's, we're going to kind of get into what exactly, this is going to be like a political party 101, how parties are formed, the structure, the kind of the down-up approach to political parties and organizations, etc. But first, I want to remind you to tune in every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. for our Better Utah. Was your election and why did you get involved?
So back in 2011, I was just like a particular bill that was passed up at the legislature, and this bill was HB 477, and basically that bill kind of said that legislators were exempt or were going to be exempt from having to disclose text messages or emails, and I thought that's not right. I mean, I believe in transparency, and there was a rally against that bill, so I went up to the Capitol, I got involved, the rest is history.
Wow, nice. Okay. Your election was?
My election for county chair was in 2017, it was last year.
Okay. And is this the first position you've held in a political party?
No, I was actually the first vice chair before that.
So. Okay, so you've got some experience, all right. And how long have you been involved with the county party?
So in 2011, after we repealed HB 477, I started asking around what positions might be available. And it just so happened that that was a reorganizing year, and the ledge chair position was opened, and I just said, okay, I'm going to run, and I ran, and I got elected as a ledge chair and out in House District 40, and that's kind of how I started in local politics.
Cool. And why, I'm always interested to know why people run for party positions rather than political positions. Is it easier to run for that position?
Starting out when you're trying to figure out the party infrastructure, when you're trying to build some name identification, I think it's just building on the ground floor. It's easier to kind of do a small, simple party election versus jumping right out and having to talk to everybody in your neighborhood and all that. I mean, it's a track to becoming a seat in public elected office.
Mm-hmm. So building name recognition, etc. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Networking. I mean, it all starts on the grassroots level.
That's great. So it's like a long-term. It's long-term involvement.
Now, certainly that's not the only way to do it. I mean, people can jump right in. I mean, if you feel like you're ready, and you have kind of an infrastructure of your own, you've got your own network of friends and families and businesses. There's no right way to do it. Mm-hmm. So there have been people who jump right in and are quite successful.
Great, great. Now, can you give us a little bit of a background on the Salt Lake Democratic Party? How long it's been around? People a lot of times have a perception as Utah is very much a kind of GOP stronghold, and so I'm curious about the history of the Salt Lake County Democratic Party.
To be quite honest, I don't know how long it's been around. I know it's been around for a long, long time. Like I said, I only started in 2011, but I know that there have been races and involvement easily going back 20 years. So that's kind of my understanding of the county party.
Okay, so at least 20 years,
Yeah,
probably more.
Probably more. Again, as with everything, you have new people coming in all the time, and you'll have to ask someone who's been around way longer than me, specifically with the county party. So.
Right. Okay. All right. So let's just jump right in.
Okay.
So we said county conventions coming up. So let's get really basic. 101. What is a convention, and what is the purpose of it, and how many conventions are there?
So. A convention for a party typically is to nominate who will be running in the ballot in November. And so there's two different kinds of conventions. In even years, conventions for our party involves nominating people who are actually running for elected office. In odd years, our convention is to organize our own party, so we would have the state chair position, all the different officers of the party down through the county level. So since it's an even year, it's a midterm, our convention this year is to nominate not only legislative seats and congressional seats, but we also have county elected positions. That's really important to me because I'm the county chair. So we would have a convention to nominate who would be running, for instance, in the district attorney's office or in the county clerk's office. So we've got those kinds of positions that our convention with our delegates would come. They would listen to the speeches, then we would vote, and whoever gets nominated gets onto the ballot in November. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit more. There could be a primary. If someone doesn't clear a threshold of, say, 60% of the delegate votes, then the top two names would be advanced to a primary, and of course after the primary that person gets advanced to the November ballot.
And so a primary is when all the voters in that geographic area who are registered with that party vote on the ballot.
Actually,
right?
Since the Democratic Party doesn't require that you have to be a Democrat, you can actually vote in our primaries.
Okay, so unaffiliated voters or independent voters, can Republicans vote with you?
As long as you request a ballot, you can vote.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And my understanding is, and Jennifer's not here to confirm, but I believe that the GOP is a closed
That's correct.
primary,
You
right?
have to be registered a Republican to get a ballot for a primary.
Okay, great. So there are a lot of ways to get onto a ballot. Now, can you collect signatures to get onto a county level?
Actually, you can. Again, the way that the law is written, as far as I understand, you can collect signatures to get on any, except for school board, I believe, but on any partisan race, you can collect signatures. I think somebody's here.
Hi, come on in. Are you Jennifer?
Hello.
Hey, come on in. Come on in. Have a seat. No, you're good.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry. So this is Q. So
Hi.
Q is from the Democratic Party of Salt Lake, and Jennifer's the acting chair of the Salt Lake County Republican Party. So I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Can you give us a little bit of introduction? So we were talking about conventions coming up, but I would love to know a little bit about you. So how did you get started in local politics? Why are you involved in party versus running for an elected seat, like a politician's seat?
I'm more of a behind-the-scenes person.
Except for right now.
I'm not a be front and center kind. I'm just, I don't know. I like to help out from behind, I guess, and help do the work that way. I probably started, about 10 years ago. I just thought I should try to get involved more, and I actually have a PhD in constitutional studies, so
wow.
I like things to do with that, and I wanted to get involved, and so I've been a region chair in the county party for a long, long time, and then just things happen from there. So.
Okay, and so a region chair, what is the difference between a region chair, a legislative district chair, and a county party chair?
Okay, so a legislative chair is there's a legislative chair over each House district.
Mm-hmm.
And and those help the person, you know, who's the legislator of that place, helps them with their elections or whatever they'd like to do. Since we have so many in Salt Lake County, we have 6 region chairs that are over those legislative chairs.
Oh, okay.
And so we have a southeast and a southwest and a central and a north, and you know, that's
So it's like a couple house districts.
Between 5 and 6 usually in each one.
Okay.
And then those 6 region chairs are part of our executive committee, and then the officers of the county party are the treasurer, secretary, vice chair, and chair.
Great.
And since we don't have a chair right now, I'm acting chair. So.
Great. So are you wearing both hats? Are you also
Yes.
the vice chair?
Yes.
So chair and vice chair.
Yeah.
A lot of
Acting
extra work.
vice chair.
Acting chair.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I had well, never mind. Doesn't matter. So with county conventions coming up, right? When is your county convention?
The 14th.
The 14th. Okay.
Yeah.
And then and so the Democrats of the county Democrats
You
will be
picked
saying.
a date.
Yeah.
And then your state convention is the 21st, is that correct?
Yes.
And then the Democrats is the 28th. Okay, great. So we were talking about what exactly happens at a convention. Can you just give us a little bit of summary of your experience with conventions? What's like planning a convention?
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people that come. So at the caucuses, we elect state and county delegates, and those county delegates go to the county convention, and the state ones go to the state convention. And at the county convention, they then vote on who's going to be running. Then they come and then they're voted on by the delegates at the county convention.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone can get 60% of the vote, then they don't have to go through a primary. Or whatever, then the top 2 go to the primaries.
Great. All right.
If I can add something.
Yeah.
So the only difference between what the GOP does on the county level is our county delegates are automatically also state delegates. So there's not we don't try to,
You
it
don't
got too confusing
Yeah.
to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else sounds exactly the same.
Okay. And then I know you guys don't have. How much involvement do you have in your state conventions? Is there much involvement on your part?
Well, like I said, all of our delegates
They go, right?
So, at our county convention, all the state offices, all this, the bigger offices, they all come. They all, try to get to know the delegates because they're all going to go to the state convention.
Right.
So that's kind of for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a lot of ours are the same, but not all. So I'm a state and a county delegate, so I go to both.
Oh, okay. But it's a different election process for the two?
Yes.
Okay.
So at the state convention, it's the same way. It's for people who are running more than countywide. So we have a Senate district, District 11, that has 3 candidates in it, and that actually goes into Utah County. So even though that's more of a county type race, it will be decided at the state because it's multi-county.
Right. Okay, cool.
So,
All right, so now let's talk kind of about party structure. It's funny, when you speak with people, you talk about politics or you talk about the legislature or any sort of thing, people tend to be, I found, very confused about the structure of political parties. And so I would like to give just kind of a basic from the ground up view of what your parties look like. So starting at the very base, like the very foundation, which is of course the voters, right? So you have the voters in your party, and then what's like the next step up from that? So if you're a voter and you kind of want to get involved in the party, and then the next step up would be what?
the next step up would be the delegates.
Okay.
So when the voters go to caucus, which was March, it's basically they're picking a representative. So they pick their representative, which we call delegates, and those representatives then go to the convention and vote for them, for the entire precinct, basically. Just like our representatives go to Washington, or our representatives go to Capitol Hill, or to the state capitol. So it's that same kind of an idea. So you have the voters, and then you have the representatives, which are the delegates, and then really that's their highest level, other than the rest of us are just party helpers, kind of,
Mhm.
you know, to help those delegates do their roles. So they have their roles in the convention to pick the candidates. And other than that, the region chairs or the ledge chairs or me as the action chair and vice chair, we're just there to help the delegates do their role, do their job as representing their precinct and getting the people elected.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not a huge up and down. I mean, there's a lot of people involved, so it feels that way, but it's not really
Okay.
really great. Do you have any differences?
Yeah, we actually have a difference. So the delegate spot for us is very important, but we also have positions above that for a precinct, which is the precinct chair. And in fact, we have precinct vice chairs, and so treasurer, and so there's an infrastructure there so that when it's time to help someone in that legislative district with an election, people can rally the base, they can get people to come out and walk, just get out the vote kind of thing. So our precinct chairs are actually delegates too. So we decided that if you're going to do the work and you're going to kind of organize your neighborhood, you ought to also be a delegate. So we have delegates, we have precinct chairs, and then above that we've got the legislative chairs. And again, keep in mind that when it comes time to campaign, the legislative chair is kind of the left hand of that particular candidate, where their right hand might be the campaign manager who's kind of coordinating campaign, but the infrastructure of the party is to help that candidate get elected. And so the infrastructure is down to the precinct level and getting people involved right down to the individual precincts.
We actually have precinct chairs too.
Oh.
But we do have the same. I think we basically have the
Yeah.
same structure, but yeah, and they're for the same reason, to help people get elected to office. But ours are separate. They're voted in separately. A lot of our precinct chairs are delegates as well, but they have to be voted into that separate.
So each one individually,
Yeah.
whereas with
Yeah,
you guys,
I
it's
think-
precinct and chair.
I think some
We're delegates.
counties have them the same. If you're the precinct chair, you're also a county delegate.
Mhm.
But Salt Lake County is not like that. Salt
Mhm.
Lake County, they vote that separately.
Okay, great.
Basically the same idea.
So it's basically a structure to help support eventual candidates and to represent your neighborhood, right? I mean, it's very much representation all the way down
All the
to
way to
each
the
voters.
bottom.
Oh, yeah, that's so great.
Very
Great.
grassroots representation.
That's fantastic. Have you guys seen in both of your parties kind of an uptick in involvement in your parties? I know basically national politics and politics in general seems to be really at the forefront, and maybe it's just it was 2016, because
Right.
of course 2016 was the primary for presidential elections. But what were your caucus nights like this past March?
We had a whole bunch of people, but like you said, not as big as 2016.
Yeah.
But we had a ton of people there, and I feel like people want to get involved and want to help. And I mean, obviously there are some that don't.
Sure.
We would hope that they would want to. I mean, like we said, this is the grassroots, most basic representation you can have. And we feel like that's really important, and we try to get the word out and and let people know. I think that I feel like people want to be involved and want to make a difference when they understand how it works and they understand how the system runs better and runs in general. Then they feel more like wanting to be involved and wanting to help.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, I think we had a little bit of an uptick compared to 2014 versus 2016, and there is obviously some momentum on the Democratic side, I'm hoping, and whether that actually translates into votes, it's to be seen in Utah. I know nationwide that's the case, but again, it really comes down to motivating individual voters to come out, be active, get involved in any way they can. I mean, it's probably a little different for Democrats, where if you show up, you're going to make a difference. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, typically, probably in in a red state, it's
Right.
anybody who shows up, and it's
Exactly.
probably the opposite.
Right. Well, as
blue
opposed to
states.
20 people who shows up to a caucus, meeting for the Republicans, one person might not seem as important as for us. 5 people, and you show up, you become 6. That's a huge difference.
You're like automatic. You're automatically a precinct chair when you show up.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Okay, cool. So last question for you guys. Utah traditionally isn't great about voting, right? I think that we in 2016 were 38th or 39th in the nation for voter turnout. Are you guys doing any get out the vote efforts this year? And what kind of role does the party have in get out the vote efforts? And what role do people like precinct chairs, delegates, do they have any role in get out the vote?
Absolutely. Again, the infrastructure is why I think the party is relevant and important. If we did it all by primaries and general elections, I think something is lost there. I mean, sure, you have a party platform, but without actually getting out, getting down into the precinct level, motivating that base on a grassroots, house by house level, I think that's really important to democracy. So, is it our job to get out the vote? Absolutely, probably in tandem with candidates, because they should be also always knocking on doors, getting their campaigns involved. But as a party, I think if we want to change what's going on nationally, we have to do it on a grassroots level. So absolutely, there's a role,
voting.
Yeah, for the party.
And what about you guys?
I agree with everything you said. I think that we actually have more power through the delegate system, the county convention system, the caucus convention system, than we do through just a primary. We actually mathematically, I think, our vote counts for more. And I think it's really important to get people out, and we try very hard to do that, get people out the same way. And I think that's a big role of the precinct leadership, the precinct chair and the delegates, and they know the people in their community, and they can talk to them and hopefully get them out to vote. Because if we're not voting, then in my mind we shouldn't be complaining either. I mean, we need to vote so that then we have a part, and and then our voice can at least be heard.
Right.
So if we're not even voting, then it doesn't seem to me a lot to complain about, really, if we're not even willing to do that little part of our responsibilities as a citizen.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, all right. Well, if we have any kind of new people watching, new members of either party, precinct chairs, somebody who just showed up and ended up leaving with a position in the party that they didn't expect, which I know has happened. What can they do between now and convention? What kind of steps would you outline for them between now and convention to connect with their precincts, to connect with their legislative district, to support getting out the vote, and to hear, to get kind of people engaged in the process?
Well, with the county party, if they got elected as a precinct chair or any position, we do training so that they know what to expect, they know when the events are coming. I mean, it's more than just come and vote. For us, it's you have to participate, pick a campaign, volunteer maybe 2 hours a month. I mean, that sounds like even really low bar, but a lot of people really, it's a challenge to be politically active. I mean, that's just the truth of it. We all have family, we all have jobs, and so training, just knowing when certain activities were. We had a great candidate forum last night where everybody came and we had questions that were asked. So that kind of level of involvement is critical because, again, just like you were saying, delegates represent that little community that they're in. And so really, if delegates took the role seriously, they would talk to their neighbors, kind of do a consensus on how they should vote on a particular race, and then vote that way, even though they may themselves not feel like that's the candidate they choose. I mean, theoretically, that's how it's supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, we have lots of, I think anybody can get more involved if they just want to. There's lots of meet and greets out there. Most candidates are holding their own meetings. You can hold them in your home, have a cottage meeting, and help the candidates. They would love that. I mean, we want everybody to get involved, and we want them to find out. There's lots of different ways that you can find out more and participate, and finding out who your precinct chair is and talking to them and asking them what they can do to help. I mean, there's so many things that people can do to get involved. And there's so many ways. I mean, there's meetings all the time at different libraries and different homes and just all over the place where people can go and ask questions of the candidates and find out more about them and meet them personally. I mean, they want to meet and talk to as many people as they can. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's their whole goal between now and convention. And then once they pass convention through November, is to try and get to meet as many as they can. They don't, I mean, they want it to be as personal, and they want to be able to meet as many people as they can and talk to them, and they want to help people get more involved. So they would love volunteers to help put up signs or go talk to neighbors or whatever it is. I mean, there's just so many things that need to be done.
Great.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
we'd love.
Yeah, please.
So one difference is they call it cottage meeting.
meetings.
We just call them house parties.
Cottage meeting has
And debates too. The larger races
Yeah.
will have
Yeah.
debates, and so I would encourage all of our delegates to go to those debates, listen to the different candidates. I mean, just become as informed as possible.
We're looking to host a couple debates once we get into the general election season, so keep tuned for that. So if people want to support a candidate, but they're not sure which candidates are in their area, can they just contact you guys?
Absolutely.
And you guys will connect them, you'll connect them with
And I'm
them.
sure on the webpage
Yeah.
there's all that information.
Yeah, we have a website. It's slcogop.com, and they can go and find out all about the candidates. You know, once they know where they live, they can easily find out who their candidates are and contact them and ask questions. And even more than just delegates. I mean, they want to talk to everybody, not just delegates.
Right.
And I'm sure Democrats are the same way.
Mhm.
They just want to talk to everybody and want to be able to get their message out and find out what our responses are as individuals, how we feel about it, our opinions about things. All of that's really important to those candidates.
Great. And how can we reach the Democratic?
Yeah, we also have a webpage. It's slcountydems.com, and then a Facebook page too. So, I mean, the information is definitely out there. You can call us. Actually, my cell number is right on the page. I mean, just give us a call.
Time to start texting Q.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
No, I do welcome that. That's fine.
Great. All right, any last things before we close up?
You know, the other thing I kind of want to push is when you have vote by mail, it's really easy for people to look on the ballot and start researching way in advance. You don't have to send it back right away. That's the beauty of vote by mail versus coming in that day and, you know, you're not familiar with people on the ballot. And I think vote by mail is still happening this year. So when you get your ballot, you can sit down, get on the internet, call people, you know, call the different candidates, make a real informed decision.
And I think that's like 2 weeks that you have the ballot, is that right?
Sometimes it's more than that.
You have it
you
for
know.
a long time.
It's almost 3 weeks.
Almost 3 weeks. Wow, so almost a month. Great.
Yeah, and most of those candidates, I think, have Facebook pages or websites. And the night before our convention on the 14th, so the night of the 13th from 7 to 9:30, we have a big meet and greet at the school. It's at Cottonwood High School.
Great.
And everybody's welcome to come and talk to candidates and find out more about them. And I mean, any way possible to get to know them is definitely worth doing.
Yeah, and let me add. So our convention isn't just designed for delegates. I mean, we welcome anybody to come. So even though you're not a delegate, you may not get to actually vote that day, you can still come. It's an open meeting. You can participate. You can listen to all the different speeches. And so that's another way, if you're just a voter trying to get informed, show up to our conventions.
That's great.
Great idea.
So
Yeah, ours is
basically,
the same.
yours is the same. So basically, all month of April, show up. We've got all sorts of conventions happening. And I think I'm really excited about the possibility for increasing voter turnout. I think that's for me personally, that's a big thing, getting more people showing up to vote and understanding the importance of a vote.
Well, and again, not to disparage the GOP, but for us, for Democrats, we need everyone on the Democratic side to vote, and we need independents too. So it's a huge deal for us to get out to vote.
The super minority party, right?
Yes.
In the state, yeah. Yeah.
So we want everybody to vote too.
Yes.
So
Everybody vote.
everybody
Everyone
needs to
votes.
vote. And of course, before you vote, please find out more about, do some homework, do your research, find out, and pick the candidate that best matches your personal values and principles, because that way you have more of a chance of getting those things that you want.
Yeah.
So it's really important to do that homework and really find out about those candidates.
And some of that is probably a little bit of like soul searching through yourself, like what exactly matters to me. You
Yes.
know, I mean, I know for me personally, I've got 2 kids, so I want to make sure that we have good education, stuff, air quality, like the basic stuff, so.
Right.
And then finding candidates that reflect that, I would imagine, would be the
Yes.
next step.
And there are so many levels. I mean, you have county, you have state, you have federal. I mean, all of those levels are happening this year.
Mhm.
So I mean, you can get, if air quality, say, is a county issue, we can talk to county people about it. Or if it's a state issue, whatever. I mean, you can talk on all these different levels to all these different candidates and be able to give them your opinions and hear their ideas and find out the people that best represent you.
Yeah, and I found that elected officials in Utah are incredibly accessible.
Yes, they
and
are.
you know, like I've texted my representative, my state representative. You know, like they seem to be very open to that, which is great. So,
Yeah.
all right, great. Thank you guys so much for coming. So again. Jensen, who is acting chair of the Salt Lake County GOP. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys next week, 12:30 Wednesday. Be sure to click get reminder to see us when we go live. Thanks.